But I want to thank everyone for taking their time today to join us. We are going to be looking at how do we work with PowerPoint slides in version 16 of LeaderGuide Pro today. This is not going to be a comprehensive, all the pieces of it. I mean, we did 3 one-hour sessions, maybe about 6 months ago, working with PowerPoint and LeaderGuide Pro. Most of those items still work in the new version or how we go about it. This is we're really going to look at the updated ways of how they go about it, and then we'll dive into kind of cursory at some of those other topics. But those sessions on the masterclass are both on my YouTube channel, but also on the if you go under the Great Circle Learning's website, go to learning events and the prior sessions, or prior recorded sessions. You'll be able to see those there. But in terms of today, what we're going to be looking at, we're going to first start off about kind of just a high-level look at the PowerPoint dialog boxes as how they show up in LeaderGuide Pro as it comes in terms of building out your guidebooks. Then we're actually going to be build out a guidebook and bring your slides and notes in at that point. Then we'll look at the high levels of replacing slides and adding slides, and then also how we go about creating slides from a guidebook. But as with all of these, if you any questions come up during the session, speak up at that moment, or put them in chat and we'll take care of them. And if we can't find the answer for it, can't answer it during the session, we'll get it to you right afterwards. But with that, let's kind of jump in. So the first area I think it's really important to just kind of get an idea of what are we going to see as we go through building in bringing in PowerPoints into LeaderGuide Pro, and what do those dialog boxes look like? So let's jump over and actually just let's go over and just start kind of looking at these at the moment. So I'm going to jump over here into Word, and I've kind of already started the process to kind of jump through it. But when we first get to the stage of bringing in PowerPoints, and again, the next section will start from, as if we're building from scratch, so you can see these as they come into the document. But the first one you're going to always see is, what PowerPoint are we looking to bring into LeaderGuide Pro? So I have a few opened right now, one for, showing kind of the agenda and stuff that we're going through, but even some ones that we're going to be jumping through. But on this, we have the ability to select the PowerPoint out of the list of ones that are currently open. If I was to come in and mark this Get PowerPoint, if what I didn't want, or if what I wanted to bring in wasn't open, I could select this. It would open up the PowerPoint's dialog box to open up a PowerPoint, and you can then open it, and you would be able to continue through. Or if you chose to just open it up yourself and not do that, all you need to do is click Refresh List, which would then show you everything that's now open on your screen or on your system, and you'd be able to pull in from there. I will point out on any one of these, if we come through and you click on the LeaderGuide Pro logo, if there is a help box in regards to it, it will open up. So on this one, it's fairly straightforward, so clicking on the logo won't bring up a help box, but I'll show you on the subsequent ones what that looks like. So we're going to see, first we're choosing which PowerPoint we're pulling from. And when we select OK, the LeaderGuide Pro kind of starts pulling in some information about that PowerPoint deck in the background. And now we're going to start getting into the, how are we going to select where we're going to put items and some of the choices that we make, which will determine the look and feel of our guidebooks. So first off on this one, obviously we actually made the instructions stand out a little bit easier. There's an instructions button. So if I click on this, it opens up, all the instructions for this specific dialog box. So I can kind of move it to the side and resize it by grabbing the bottom or the corners to make it easier to read. But basically what we're doing here, there's 2 items that we have to select from. One is we need to determine where are we putting our image the PowerPoint image, right? We could put it into column 1, which would replace the icon for the slide content block. You'd get a little 1-inch thumbnail. It could go into column 2 of a 2-column document, or 2 or a 3-column document, or if it was a 3-column document, you could choose this. Now, so the document I have open behind us is a 2-column, so that's why we're only getting the options of 1 or 2. But if I had a 3-column document, I could choose 3.
Hey, Pat.
Yes, sir.
If you choose to put the image in column 1, will it still list a slide number above that like it does?
It does. Yes. So slide number, that's the text for slide number is always going to come in.
Oh, okay. All right, thank you.
You're welcome. Now, the second portion of this dialog box is where are we going to put our notes. So depending on where we choose to put our image, right? So if I put my image in column 1, notice I can put my notes into column 2 or into separate content block beneath. If this was a 3-column document, I could also have the choice to put into column 3. I also have this option here. Let's say I don't want to bring in the notes, right? Maybe there weren't any notes, or the notes aren't any good and you don't want to bring those in. You can make that choice for this specific document. Now, some of the other choices on this dialog box, if I select options, these are going to be some items that are basically, I'm setting these kind of as preferences, which would remain in place until I went and made changes on it in the future. But we give you control over what image quality. So we're going to take your PowerPoint slide, which is a conglomeration of, text boxes and images and shapes and colors and videos and all that, and we're going to actually basically do a mass file save as an image type. And we're going to give you control over the pixels per inch, which will help in terms of printing as well as also in terms of overall file size. You can also set it up where, what do we want to bring in? Slides only, notes only, both, extract text. You can make those choices. If you were to mark this option here of slide text, what this will do is, in addition to bringing over our slides and our notes, or whatever our choices were, it would also bring over in a separate content block beneath everything that's come in. It would give you anything that's in a text box on the slide. So for those times where you've got that slide deck from from your subject matter expert that they typed everything they possibly knew about nuclear engineering onto the slides, you could bring that, instead of you having to copy and paste it, you could extract all that text into a content block to start manipulating it within your guidebook, and then from there go forward and create better visual slides to help support your training. All right. And then we got some of these other options about presenter only, participant only, producer only notes. This comes into effect if you are using our program AuthorTech, which is one of our authoring tools, which helps you, within there's a tool called George that will allows you to break up your notes into specific audiences. So if you're using that, this is where this feature would come in. And then if you took advantage and set up some of the customized content block bundles, you could actually make those choices that after my slides and my notes come in, automatically put in my bundle 1, which let's say was you set up as an example, key point, ask a question, and then a debrief. So it would give you your slides and notes, based off what we chose, and then it would, after every slide, give us a key point, ask a question, and then my debrief blocks, or whatever your specific custom items that you chose are. That's what these bundles are. Any questions on kind of this, the advanced settings currently? All right. So after we go through and we make our choices on where we want to put our images and where we want to put our notes, you would then select OK. And what LeaderGuide Pro now starts going through and doing is it goes in and it starts reading. It basically is pulling in the document structure and that will make more sense when we build it out from scratch, but it pulls over what we're going to see in this left-hand column. This is our structure of modules and lessons based off of what's in the document. What are my modules and my lessons? So if you've built out your guidebook, used the guidebook design template, or inserted modules and lessons into your document already, you're going to see this on the left-hand side. The middle section is showing you, it's basically an image of every slide that's in the PowerPoint deck that we chose from. And it's got, it's on the right-hand side, it's showing you slide 1 through however many slides. So in this deck, it's through slide 10. And then the right-hand side, this is where we're going to go in and we're going to basically have the ability to assign or remove assignments for specific lessons of our slides. So the way this whole process works, and I will point out that basically we use a 2-level outline, right? We call it modules and lessons, topic, subtopic, chapter, lesson, terminal objective, enabling objective. But what we're seeing, all the way indented on the left, all the way full justified to the left, is our modules. So in this case, overview, which I forgot the W, and how to create PowerPoints. Those are my modules. And then what's indented in are my lessons. So slides are assigned at the lesson level. So what we end up doing is we select the lesson just by highlighting it out of the dialog box on the left. So with my purpose lesson highlighted, I can now come over to the middle section, and let's say just slide 1 is going to be in that first lesson. So I can highlight that, and then all I need to do is come over and click Assign on the right-hand side. And what we'll see now, when we have the purpose lesson highlighted, down in lesson is now assigned, we can see slide 1 is now assigned to that. So you would basically just spend a little bit of time going through, selecting our slides, selecting our lessons, and then choosing which slides we want to use. And so the way this works is you can individually select it and click Assign, or you could go through and I could, select slide 5, scroll down to whatever I wanted, let's say slide 7. If I hold down the Shift key and then click, now I've selected slides 5, 6, and 7, and we can see these marked here under Assign and Review, and I can click to assign them. So now you'll be able to see, 5 through 7 is assigned, right? And I can go through and assign everything else. So best practice, if you're assigning multiple slides to a lesson, click on the first one that you want, hold down the Shift key, click on the next lessons you want, or next slide you want, and then click Assign. The control button, the control key also works, so I can hold down, let's say I wanted slides 8 and I wanted slide 10, but not slide 9. I can hold down the control key, which will allow me to select individually, but keep all the previous ones selected, and then click Assign. And then once I was done, I would mark Done, and the program starts importing all of these in. So we'll go in a moment and start from starting of a guidebook to bringing in a slides. We're going to do that in this next section. But questions at all about those dialog boxes? Does the idea of assigning slides make sense?
Can you type in the number as well? Like slide 8, can you just type in the number versus clicking on them, or do you have to click?
You got it. In the current build, you have to select it. You can't type it.
Okay, so you just can't put a number in.
Correct.
Comma,
Yep.
10 or anything like that. Okay.
Yep. All right. So with that being said, let's jump into the next portion, which is importing. How do we bring in these at the whole document at the beginning of our document creation? So let us jump over, come back here to Word. when we want to build out a guidebook, right, on the LeaderGuide Pro ribbon, we come up in the Start section, we choose this blank, the blank file, which is new, which will open up our Start a New Guidebook, right? So let's call this Importing PowerPoints, right? And this is where I can go through and I can put in the name of my course, and if there's a course ID, I can do those. What type of guidebook? Is it a facilitator? Is it a participant? Choose how many columns I'm going through. So let's choose a 3-column just so you can kind of see that at the moment. Choose your collection, right? The collection is that series of templates that we're going to pull from to help build out the guidebook to meet your specific style and branding needs. All right, make all those choices. And again, if we click on the LeaderGuide Pro logo, we'd get the text help for this dialog box, right? Just always like to point out where you can get text right at the or get help right at the moment. If you were to click on the video icon, here, let's show, it would open up our, on your default web browser, it would take you right to our help videos on our website for that specific dialog box you had. So you've got help right at your fingertips as we're going through. But we'll go through, we're going to select OK, all right, to start building out our guidebook. So just like in version 15 and earlier, it starts pulling in all the pieces from the collection to start building out the guidebook we selected. Right, we get prompted to save. I will point out, it's always best when you're saving to work off your hard drive locally. Try to stay at the document creation level or importing PowerPoints. Try to stay away from working on a networked drive like OneDrive or your N drive, because that latency or lag can actually slow things down from happening. But this is new feature, and I know we talked about this 2 weeks ago when we went over the guidebook design template. But just as a quick reminder, this is where we can spend a few moments and select a specific design template where we could go through. We've got some pre-saved ones for you, which are really based off the amount of objectives and kind of general time frame. Or you could come down and choose My Custom Templates, right, which are ones that you've kind of pre-saved. So you can go through and make your choices off that. We'll just use our single objective one. But now I could come in on the left-hand side and go in and start, basically highlighting the text that was already in here in terms of my modules and my lessons. And I could start putting in, the names of the lessons. So as I'm building out my document, I can really get my outline and put it into place. I could also come in on this third column, which is more of an optional area, but I could put in my module goal. If I had specific timing, I could do all of these. Right? I can just highlight this information, right, and put in however much time. So just as a quick reminder how this guidebook design template is there. It is a new feature in version 16. But when I select OK, right, LeaderGuide Pro starts finish building out my document. It brings in that whole course outline. So for every module I've put in, for every lesson, it drops those pages into my document before I even get asked, do I want to bring in images? So when we start building when we're building from, starting off a new document, so at document creation, after all of my course structure, my modules and my lessons from that guidebook design template are inserted, now I get a prompt of, are you ready to add images to my document now? If I say no, I would end up with my shell document with my, all my modules and my lessons, my course outlines already in there. And I could now start building stuff out from scratch. But because we're talking about importing from PowerPoint, we're going to say yes to, are you ready to add images to your document now? So if I say yes, this is where those dialog boxes we just kind of went through in the previous section talk about. Right? So I can now come in and select the slide that I wanted. Right, so in this case, I'm going to choose just a different slide deck. So we'll do this morph transition one. Select OK. Again, scans the document. I get to now choose where do I want to put my images. So let's say I'm going to put my image into column 3. I'll put my notes into column 2. Right, make all those choices. Click OK. It's now scanning the document to make sure it gets that whole course structure. And so now I could come through, and so let's say, introduction. All right, this is going to have my first slide. I can click assign. Right, and the question you had, like, could I go in and just type in I want slide 2? Okay. Please, I take that back. You actually, in the newest update, you can now go in and assign those, right? So in this case, right, if I wanted slides 3 through 5, I could come in and type 3 through 5, and I could click assign. So you can now see what's assigned. So just taking a look here, let me step that back, right? Because I ended up, we had this, if I type 3-5 and assign, yeah, see, I'm much, it looks like it
doesn't look like it likes it.
Yeah, so we're going to go back to my original answer. That you want to just select it out of here and assign it for it to stay. I'll talk with our developer to see if that's if it's an item we can make get in there so that it sticks. But once we have all those assigned, right? I click done. It now brings in all those slides. It brings it over into our, what we call, it's our scratch document. It's a temporary file. You'll get a message that says PowerPoint slides are successfully added. It basically, because the last thing we had seen before I started this document was that it went to basically my Google Chrome. That's why you showed that. If the last thing we were in was Word, you would have seen that Word document. So once you click PowerPoints are successfully added, it'll open Word back up for you. But now we've got your guidebook is ready. I'll select OK. And if we scroll down, right, there's that building facilitator guide module that I put in. We had, I assigned slide 1 to my introduction. I assigned slide 2 to my second lesson, and I did the rest of 3, 4, and 5 to my third lesson. So it will drop those right into the course structure that we created with the guidebook design template. So questions on this process of pulling it in from when we're bringing in your slides and your notes from the time we actually build out our guidebook, at the beginning. Okay. I will point, let's hop back over here real quick. So once we brought in our slides and notes, right, however they came in, you probably are going to want to come through. Notice there's a few things. It brings in a headline called PowerPoint Notes at the top of, the notes section. So you're probably going to want to clear those out. Like I had these says and do's. These were actually in the actual PowerPoint I pulled in from. Notice here, those were in my PowerPoint deck, so those came in. But you're gonna want to come through. This is the one we were looking at, right? And you're gonna start cleaning up these notes, right? Probably taking out those note sections. You may actually, Ideally, you want to start taking some of the notes themselves and inserting them into different content blocks, right? Like on this one, there's an activity, so I could highlight the text, insert my activity block, which would come in, right? And I can now start removing the notes that I've put into other content blocks, or maybe I want to come over and I want to make sure I'm putting in, I want to use some of our our IQs to give visual cues inside of a content block, right? I can start adding these things in. So you're once you've imported your slides and notes, you are gonna take a look. You should be taking some time to kind of make those notes now more visually supporting your material through visuals, right? Using the graphic cues, the IQs, so that it can be an at-a-glance document where my facilitator can glance down and then be back up in front of the camera, or be back up in front of the class and know what they're doing at a glance. All right, so those were the first two items I wanted to kind of go over today. Third one is, let's start talking about, let's say, how do we go about replacing slides? We've brought slides in to a document. Now, how do we go about replacing these, after the fact? I brought in slides, and now maybe I've got, a new slide was added, or slide 4 was changed, or whatever those are. How do we go about handling those? So let me just, I went the test, the cooking show method. I kind of set up a few documents just so we wouldn't have to keep creating documents as we went along. So in this document, just to refresh myself, I believe I went in and we've got like 10 slides in the document. Yep, 10 slides. So if we wanted to go through and, let's say, just change over there's been some changes to these slides. Let me just, for all intents and purposes, I'm going to open up my replace slide sample. I've got a different slide deck here, just so we can visually quickly see the changes that were being done. But when we want to replace our slides, how this works, on the ribbon in the controls section, we're going to go up under special, and the first section's about PowerPoint slide images. And so the second choice down is replace. So when we want to replace our slides, if I select replace, we're going to start seeing a few of the same dialog boxes before. So we get to choose, what's the PowerPoint deck I'm going to be pulling information from to put into my guidebook. So in this case, I'm going to use my replace sample. Again, it starts scanning it's scanning the LeaderGuide Pro document, it's scanning the PowerPoint, kind of getting all the information lined up in the background. Depending on how big your PowerPoint file is, this may take a few, it may take a few moments. When's the last time we restarted our computer? How many different programs am I running? Obviously, overall file size. So if it's taking a moment, this is a great time to go get some more coffee. But when we do the replace, notice we get very much the same dialog box, but it's now showing us replace PowerPoint slides, and it's got our course structure, right? Our modules and our lessons. And if I was to go through and highlight, like I can see in this course, slides 1 through 10 are assigned to my first, to my welcome lesson. And if I go through, these are now, I can quickly, I can see what's currently assigned. And what I'm actually looking at here, I should have pointed this out. You'll see blocks available. So when we do the replace, so right now, actually slide 1 is assigned to my welcome lesson. And then the remaining 9 slides are assigned to lesson 2. And then there's no PowerPoint blocks in lesson 3. Again, I can see this by looking here, available blocks. Same as there's currently no PowerPoint blocks or slide blocks assigned in that summary lesson.
So Pat, I have a question.
Sure.
If you've established this module that has 10 slides, but you have a replacement, you want to replace things, but you have now your new slide deck has 11 slides in it. They don't match up. Can you do replace for that, or how do you have to add another block?
You would add that's exactly, you would go into the location of your guidebook, right? So you'd go into your guidebook where you needed that new slide. So let's say there's a new slide 5. You'd add in that PowerPoint block. And then, if you, we'll do it real quick. So if I was to come in, right, let's say there was now a new slide 2. I would just go up under instructor led where I needed my new slide, and I would insert the slide block. The one thing to keep in mind, and I'll zoom in so you can see it, right? So my new slide is slide 2 because it looks at the slide block above us, and it basically adds 1 to it. But I also have a slide 2, which was my old slide block. So the way you just want to make sure your slide numbering's all updated. So after you insert that slide content, the new slide block, just click the Update All Fields button into Controls, which will go through and it will put my slides back into sequential order. So
would you need to put a PPT notes block under that too? Or is the system going to automatically do
No,
that?
so when you do a replace brings over your slides.
Oh, just the slides.
Just the slides.
Okay.
So in this case, right, if I was to now do a replace, right, if I choose my PowerPoint, again, it's scanning everything, so it just takes a moment to pull all that information in. Right, so now notice we've got 11 content blocks in my documents. Right, 2 of them are in my welcome, 9 are in the next one. So because, this is actually something to look at, down at the bottom of this dialog box, there are 2 items. Total slide blocks across all lessons, total slide count in the slide deck. If these 2 numbers do not match up, you can only do a selective lesson replace. Meaning we have to go and assign, slide 1 and 2 are going to be assigned to lesson 1, slide 9 or 3 through whatever are going to be assigned to lesson 2, and so on. If these 2 numbers match up, we can do a straight replace. So I'll show you both right now, just so it makes a little bit more sense. So because these 2 numbers now don't line up, I can come in and basically, let me turn my arrows off, right? For the welcome lesson, let's say, in this case, I just need to bring in that slide 2. Well, I do have to assign all my slides for that specific lesson, right? I can't do a single slide replacement. I have to replace either all of them or the slides in that lesson. So in this case, I'm going to assign slides 1 and 2. And then I can leave everything else alone because that was the only one. I'm just worried about this one lesson. I can click Done. I'll get a message that says replacing a slide images is complete. And if we jump down to this lesson, which was my welcome one, right, it's changed over my first slide as well as my second one. All right, so that's the replace selected, or to replace just a selected lesson. Now I could go through and I could do it for multiple lessons, but just remember I got to assign, if I've got 4 content blocks in a lesson, I've got to assign 4 slides. Now, for this example, I'm just going to take out that slide to bring us back to 10. All right, so the other replace, so again, special, go to replace, choose my choose my file. So we brought it back to now where I have 10 slides in my deck, 10 slides in my guidebook. All right, so again, we're looking here. I got 10 and 10. When all your slide content blocks and what's in your guidebook and what's in your PowerPoint deck are equal, notice I now have this replace all. And at this stage, I don't have to assign my slides. All I need to do is come down and select done. And we get a dialog box says, do you want to replace all your slides? And I'll say yes. So when it's done, we get replacing a slide images is complete. And if I just quickly scroll down, notice it's now changed over, all my SMART goal slides to the learning journey slides. So that replace, we're either doing it at the lesson level or we're doing it at replacing all, and it's going to be dependent of do I have the same amount of slides in my deck as that are in my document. If ever in doubt, you're better off to assign the slide, assign them at the lesson level just to make sure everything matches up. This is where it's helpful to have a second monitor or to split your screen where you can kind of scan through your document and say, all right, I know slides 2, 3, and 4 are going to lesson 2 and slides 17 through 32 are going with lesson 7 and so on. And then you can mark those up accordingly. Questions on replacing? All right. So let's talk about adding slides. So adding slides, and this is, let me pull up another sample. All right, so I'm going to open this up real quick. So in this case, here's a guidebook that I built out. Let me go. Just going to open up the navigation pane real quick. So in this one, let's say I've spent a whole bunch of time building out my outline, but at that stage, maybe it was towards the end of the day and I stopped, I didn't import my slides at all, or, I hadn't built those out. Adding puts in a new slide content block. It doesn't replace an existing one. So in this document, as an example, if we scroll down, notice, right, I've got my introduction lesson and my replace slides lesson and my add slides, but I don't have any other content blocks in here. So what adding will allow me to do, if I go under special and I choose add, again, same options, right? Choose the PowerPoint deck that I want. I can choose OK. Right? scans my document, pulls all the information. I now get to choose where do I want to put my images, right? So notice on the replace, I didn't get to get that choice because it's already factoring in the information based off the document that had been created with the PowerPoint slide content blocks that were already in the document. But with this one, right, I can choose. So maybe, in this case, I want to put my slides in column 2. I'll put my notes beneath. Right. Now it's pulling in that course structure, getting all my images. And I can now come in, right, in this case, for ease, I'm just going to assign all my slides to slide. Well, actually, let's do slides 1 through 3 to the first lesson. We'll do slides 4 and 5 to the second lesson, and we won't put anything in the third at the moment. Right? So adding brings in my slides and my notes based off where I assign those. So we get PowerPoint added successfully. And we can now see my introduction, right? It's brought in my slides and my notes and dropped them into those locations. So it's very much along the lines of importing your slides at the time of document creation. What it also allows us to do, though, is let's say we have multiple slide decks. Right, so I've brought in my first slide decks, and my first slide deck went to lessons 1 and 2. I could now come under Special, and I can choose Add, right? And I can choose, let's say, another slide deck. All right, again, it's going to scan everything, pull everything into my document, right? Again, because I'm adding, I have the choice of where do I want to put it. In this case, I would mirror what I've done previously so that you've consistency throughout your document. So we'll go to and beneath. Again, now it's grabbing grabbing the slide images, it's grabbing the course structure. So when we go this route, let's say bringing in multiple slide decks, there are a few things you need to kind of keep in mind. First off, if we take a look, if I've highlighted my introduction, right, my first lesson, notice slides 1 through 3 are currently assigned to lesson 1, or to that introduction. Right? If I go in, I choose replace, my second lesson, based off of what I've already put in, certain slide numbers are associated with certain slide or with certain lessons. So in this case, if I was to go in and strictly highlight slide 1, let's say I was going to bring all 10 slides and assign those to the last, in this case, my last lesson, there's going to be a little bit of an overlap. Because what ends up happening, LeaderGuide Pro, it's looking and it says, all right, the way this is currently set up, slides 1 through 3 are being assigned to the first lesson. Slides 4 and 5 are being assigned to the second lesson based off my previous PowerPoint deck. In my new PowerPoint deck, I'm assigning slides 1 through 10 to this deck, to the third lesson, which will end up meaning slides 1, 2, and 3 will be added on to the bottom of this deck will be added on to the bottom of the first lesson. Slides 4 and 5 will be added on to the bottom of the second lesson, and then all 10 will be dropped into the third one. So what you need to make sure you do is clear the assignments. And the way we clear assignments is you highlight the lesson you want to clear it from and choose the clear button. But by clearing these, now when I add my slides, sorry, it's not clear assignments. We want to remove the assignment, which is this button. So, take back what I just said. We're removing the assignment, not clearing it. So highlight the lesson, remove the assignment, say yes. Right, so now there's current LeaderGuide Pro isn't looking for slides 1 through 3 of this new deck to be added into this current, into lesson 1, and slides 4 and 5 won't be added into lesson 2. And I'm just going to drop all 10 slides into the third lesson. So the big thing on this one is when you're adding slides to an existing deck, you need to clear out the assignments from the previous one. But what it will allow us to do, if I scroll up, right? So starting from the beginning, my first PowerPoint deck, slides 1, 2, and 3 were my first lesson. Slides 4 and 5 were my second lesson. And then my third lesson, starting with the new PowerPoint deck, what was slide 1 is now technically slide 6 because it's the 6th one in my document. And I'm able to now go through and have all of these in here. Just know that that's the kind of the big thing. What that also means, though, is if we were later on to go and do a replace, right? If I was to do a replace, when I've added multiple decks and I've cleared out assignments, I definitively have to go and assign. I have to do the selective assignment at the lesson level. Slides 1, 2, and 3 are going to be going to lesson 1. Slides 4 and 5 are going to lesson 2, and then however many going to lesson 3, and so on. Because what we'll end up seeing is down here at the bottom, total number of slide blocks across all lessons, 15. But based off what we had is 10. And more importantly, notice, because I had to clear out the assignments to bring them in, it's not showing the first, it's not showing any blocks now currently assigned. So you would have to go in and make sure you did this, the selective lessons and put in those slides themselves. So let's get us to the last one I kind of want to talk about today. And let me get I think I have one more open for this. Sorry, I got myself all prepared, and then in jumping around and doing this, I set up, I ended up using one of the documents that I kind of wanted to do. So what I'm going to show you here is one of the features, and this is underneath the special. It's the third choice down, which is Create from Text PowerPoint. What this will allow us to do is, from an existing LeaderGuide Pro document, we can insert in a PowerPoint block and kind of capture the ideas that we want to have on the slide, and then use this as a precursor to build out my slides. So in this example, right, I've got a PowerPoint content block that was inserted in, and basically in the second column, whether you're in a 2-column or a 3-column, in the second column, I can type down the ideas that I want to have on my slide, right? Like, all right, in my overview, I know I need to have, a few items. Oh, here, actually, I don't know how I got these in here. Let me take these two out real quick. All right, I'm going to go in, I'm going to insert in my, basically where I need to have, I need to have a slide, right? We're going to be saying something about how to create PowerPoints, and then we're going to have a slide. So I can just drop under instructor-led training, come down, select PowerPoint slide, which would give me that slide content block, right? And I could now go in and I could start typing in kind of the ideas of what I wanted to have on this slide. All right, so whatever text that may be. Right, and then I could go to my, where the next slide's going to be. Insert in this one. I've got one in here as an example. All right, another slide. Stuff to know. All right, so I can just, again, I'm capturing the ideas. Maybe I'm going to be building out the slides later on, or it's going to be sent off to somebody who's kind of, is more of a graphic designer, and you're just giving the kind of the ideas that you want to have to support the points we had during our training. Right, and you could go through and you could, keep adding in, whatever that is, and I'm just, again, just adding some random text so we have it. I'm going to take some of these ones out just for ease. Right, but you'd go through and kind of, in your document, capture all the places that you needed slides. Now, once what you're able to do, we're going to come up under Special, and we're going to come down, we're going to choose this third option, Create from Text PowerPoints. And what it will do, it opened up on my other monitor, so let me pull this over. It will create a vanilla PowerPoint, it's my term for it, but basically a PowerPoint with the items that we typed into column 2. So we're not putting images into column 2 in our guidebook. We're kind of just capturing the thoughts we want to have on our slide. Right? We'd click Enable Editing in the PowerPoint document. But now I could come through and make these visually appealing. Right? Drive home all the points of what I needed on my slides. I'm going to go the cheap route for time purposes, and use the Design Center. Obviously, these aren't going to be the ideas that we specifically, I'm not saying these are visually good slides. I'm just kind of giving you the idea of, taking that text, making a visual slide of it. Once you're happy with it, which I wouldn't be with this one, but I'm going to, save out my slides. Choose where you're going to put your file. And now what I can do is come back to my LeaderGuide Pro document. Not this one. This is the one that I had put in, we kind of captured the text of what we wanted to have on the third slide, the second slide, and so on. Now I can do the special replace. Right, choose the PowerPoint deck I wanted. Obviously, best practice, have that PowerPoint deck already open. But now you'll see we're just kind of into the slide replace. And because I have 3 slide content blocks in my document and my slide deck has 3 slides, I can just leave it as all and click done. Do you want to replace all the slides? Yes. Right, replacing a slide image is complete. And now if I was to quickly scroll down, where I had kind of captured the thoughts and ideas of what I wanted to have as a visually appealing slide. Again, I'm not saying these are visually appealing, I just did it for time purposes. Right, I'm able to quickly bring those slides in kind of off the notes or the ideas I wanted to have to make a good slide into my guidebook, and then I have everything else already laid in. Does that make sense? All right, so those were the main ideas I kind of wanted to go through today. The big one, when you're bringing in PowerPoints, right? When you start off a document, the more we can, you get that your course structure put into place with that guidebook design template, makes it easy when we then go and assign the slides to those items. And then just remember on the replace that you're going to be, if they match up, I've got 10 slide content blocks in my document. I've got 10 of my slides, in my slide deck. I can do the replace all, or I can replace it at the lesson level, saying like, lesson 1 had 3 slides assigned to it, and choose the 3 slides you want to replace it with, and just replace it there. So again, we can do multiple lessons or single lessons at a time, but you're either doing all or at the lesson level. But with that, I know we're about 3 minutes shy. If you guys don't have any other questions, as they come up, reach out to me. Like I said, I'll get this recording edited and put out there. And we'll also put out the next events coming up for June, probably in the next, by early next week. But with that, I'll let everyone have the rest of their Thursday afternoon. Hope your Friday's quick, and enjoy your long Memorial Day weekend.
All right. Thank you very much.
You're welcome. Take care.
Thanks, Ben.